Hey guys, Fallout here, and today we're going to be taking a look at all the new aspects and fragments in Season 14 of Destiny 2. If you want an easy and free way to support the channel, go ahead and click the like button, much appreciated. So, in Season of the Splicer, we've got 3 new aspects and 4 new fragments on the table. Quick reminder that aspects are class specific and fragments are not, meaning if you only play one class, you don't have to worry so much about what aspect to pick up, but you might have to make a decision about which fragment to get first. Not to worry though, we're going to go through all of them, starting with aspects and ending with fragments. But before we get going, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Ridge Wallets. These things are beautiful, and I'm glad to promote them on my channel because I've actually been using one myself for about the past year. No joke, this right here has been my actual wallet. A lot of guys I know are still lugging around wallets like this. Big, bulky, floppy, and uncomfortable, doesn't sit well in your pocket, and you gotta move it around when you sit down. As I mentioned, over a year of the Ridge wallet, and I'm just never going back. It's light, sleek, and efficient. It doesn't fold or bulge out awkwardly in your pocket. It's got room for all my cards and a clip for bills when I am carrying cash. They've got over 30 colors and styles on their website, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. Sounds like a Destiny shader. They've got 30,000 5-star reviews, one of them being mine, and each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. Yes, you can buy just one wallet and boom, carry and use it for life. The Ridge is so confident you'll like it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days, and if you don't, you can send it back for a full refund. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/falloutplays and use promo code falloutplays. Link to their site in the video description, and thank you again to Ridge for sponsoring today's video. Alright, back to the content. Aspects. Why don't we kick it off with the Hunter aspect, Touch of Winter. Depending on how you feel about stasis and PvP, you might be really happy or really angry about this aspect. I say that because after testing it, I think it's going to be really good. The TLDR on Touch of Winter is that it enhances your grenade, no matter which one you're running, Glacier, Duskfield, or Cold Snap. For Glacier Grenade, your default regular nade will drop 5 crystals all in a straight line. We're all familiar with that formation. Under the power of Touch of Winter though, the Glacier Nade changes shape. Now rather than a straight line, you've got a tight little circle of crystals around the drop point, and there's 6 instead of 5. Now that doesn't sound like much, but it definitely changes a lot. If you throw it at a target and you're pretty accurate, you can essentially trap and freeze them in the dead center of your Glacier Nade. Not only that, but when they break out, they can't run away because they're surrounded. They either have to damage one of the crystals trapping them, which would hurt, or they have to jump straight up out of the trap. And even if you miss your target though, dropping 6 crystals on the battlefield instead of 5, kind of a big deal. Remember that Shatter Dive is still a thing, and the amount of damage you deal to a nearby target is directly related to how many crystals you're able to break in the enemy's face. Quick number refresh. When Shatter Diving, you'll deal 55 damage per crystal, and potentially an extra 30 per crystal on top of that if you're running Whisper of Fissures. Now, any regular Guardian up close should die easy to Shatter Dive, but the extra crystal is really going to come in handy when trying to take down a roaming super. At full power, Whisper of Fissures Touch of Winter Shatter Dive is going to deal up to 510 damage, and even the beefiest roaming supers with their damage resist factor can still get shut down. By the way, if you were wondering, the Touch of Winter Glacier Nade will still hold its circular pattern if thrown onto a wall. Moving on, we're still talking about Hunter Touch of Winter, but let's see what it does to the Duskfield Nade. Now, normally Duskfield will drop a little icy dome, and anybody caught inside will be afflicted by slow. Ever since the nerf, it's fairly easy to walk out of a Duskfield without getting frozen. They're more annoying than anything. Under Touch of Winter, though, you'll notice a few changes right away. First of all, the Duskfield becomes much bigger. The size of your winter Duskfield is pretty much going to be on par with a Titan bubble. While you can still walk through the entire beefed up Duskfield without getting frozen, you should probably not waste any time trying to get out. The next thing you're going to notice is that at the dead center of the beefed up Duskfield is a tiny little glacier. Doesn't seem like much, I know, but that one little crystal can be a damn nuisance. If you hit a target dead on with your Duskfield nade, they'll be insta-frozen by that little bugger right in the middle. While you could Shatter Dive it, it probably wouldn't give you a lot of damage, but you could always stand near it and 1v1 your opponent while taking advantage of Whisper of Chains, the fragment that gives you additional damage protection while standing near any crystal. That would pretty much boil down to a near impossible 1v1 for the enemy. They are slowed, taking chip damage, and penalized with no movement, no abilities, and no accuracy, and you're nearby shooting away while taking reduced incoming damage. Yeesh. The Touch of Winter Cold Snap grenade is also kind of frightening. The Cold Snap travels further, faster, and chains one additional time. It's kind of hard to tell side by side, but the Touch of Winter Cold Snap definitely travels a hair faster than normal. If you're a PvP player and you're wondering if you'll be able to tell visually if the Cold Snap heading towards you is a Touch of Winter one, believe me, you will be. The beefed up Cold Snap is taller and spikier, much more easy to notice. We actually had a theory that because the Cold Snap is taller, it might be harder to jump away from because it reaches further up off the ground. As far as we could tell, yeah, that seems to be the case. You can still jump away from them, but they're much better at tagging you if you're only a little bit off the ground. Range-wise, the Touch of Winter Cold Snap adds about 4 meters to travel range. With a regular, unbuffed Cold Snap, you'll be frozen if you're within a 13-meter range of activation. 14 meters or further, and you'll be fine. For Touch of Winter, though, you'll be frozen if you're within a 17-meter range of activation, 18 or further, and you'll be fine. At the end of the day, I think Touch of Winter is going to be, unfortunately, a top-tier PvP option for hunters. Shatter Dive is definitely back on the menu and better than ever when paired with the beefed-up Glacial Nade, and both Cold Snap and Duskfield become noticeably more annoying under the Touch of Winter. Let's move on to the Titan aspect, Diamond Lance. This one is kind of weird, but has potential. Shatter or defeat any target with any stasis ability, and boom, you summon an Ice Lance right there on the floor, free for you to pick up whenever you want. And before you ask, yeah, it works in PvP. After picking up your Lance, it acts like a Warmind Valkyrie. You can either throw it like a disgruntled athlete, or you can drive it down with a ground pound. Either move will use up the Lance completely. If you decided to throw it, any enemy you hit will take minor damage and also get hit with the shorter freeze duration, about the same duration as getting tagged by a Cold Snap. The ground pound will also deal damage but tags enemies with a much longer freeze duration, about the same as getting frozen by a glacier grenade. Also, we learned that while the freeze range is only a few meters away, about average shotgun range, the radius at which you take damage from the ground pound is a little bit further out, which is weird, but good to know. If you were wondering, and I know you were, here's a few more fun facts about the Diamond Lance. Once you pick it up, you'll have 10 seconds to use it before it goes away. The timer on your HUD will apparently tell you 16 seconds, but again, it goes away in 10. The final 6 seconds on that countdown act as a cooldown before you can generate another Diamond Lance. Reason being is that in theory, if you threw your Diamond Lance as the timer ended, you'd be able to kill another enemy guardian and create an endless loop of Lance generation, and God knows we don't want that. That's what that extra 6-second cooldown is there to prevent. If left untouched, the Lance will sit around on the battlefield for about 25 seconds, a damn long time, much longer than I thought. And finally, yeah, your teammates can pick up a friendly Diamond Lance with access to both attacks. No, enemies cannot pick up your team's Diamond Lance even if they wanted to, thank God. Overall, I think Diamond Lance has interesting potential. I don't know if it has the power to dethrone Cryoclasm or the absurdly powerful Howl of the Storm, but it is funny. Definitely an interesting way to rub salt in the wound in PvP. The Warlock aspect is called Glacial Harvest and is incredibly straightforward. Freezing targets create stasis shards around the frozen targets. Higher tier combatants create more shards. In PvP, this translates to every time you freeze an enemy guardian, 2 shards pop up immediately in front of them. If you touch those shards, naturally they give you melee energy. It's kind of hard to eyeball it, but after picking up 2 shards in a game type that wasn't Mayhem, I reckon I'd gotten back about 20-ish% of my overall melee charge. Not too shabby. Now, if that sounds incredibly painfully boring to you compared to the Titan or Hunter aspect, yeah, you're right, but it does open up the door to interesting fragment pairing potential, which we'll talk about right now. The first fragment I want to talk about is Whisper of Rime. Collecting a stasis shard gives you a small amount of overshield. As you can imagine, that immediately sounded really powerful to me, and I wanted to try it out. If you're out there dreading the impending doom of anyone touching a shard and then turning into the Juggernaut, you can relax. Well, you can relax a little bit. When I say you get a small amount of overshield, I really do mean small. It's barely a blip, but the upside is that the overshield has a 10-second duration. Not only that, but every time you touch another shard and add onto your overshield, the timer will refresh. If you're wondering how strong the Rime overshield is, I think I have an answer for you. My buddy shot at me with the Ikelos SMG in the body, which did about 16 damage. That one shot took off all of my overshield and a tiny little pinch of health. We're thinking right now that the overshield is probably within the 14 or 15 health range. Very small, but again, that can really begin to add up if you collect more than one. If in theory you were to be shot in PvP by an enemy with an adept palindrome and they got 3 headshots at 70 damage each, normally that would be enough to kill you. But if you were protected by a 15 health overshield, depending on your initial level of resil, if it were high enough, you would in theory be able to tank that. Titan players, using Tectonic Harvest, you can drop a Glacier Nade, slide through it and destroy the entire thing, create and eat 5 shards for a quick overshield of around 70-ish health. Remember the Warlock aspect I mentioned? Freeze an enemy and bam, 2 shards immediately? Might not sound like a lot, but an instant mini overshield every time you freeze a guy can definitely help in a 1v1 gunfight. I feel like out of every new fragment, Rime might have the most potential in PvP, and while I don't think it'll be crazy dominant, you should expect to see it. The next fragment I want to talk about is Whisper of Hunger. I feel like a lot of people are going to shy away from this one, and for good reason. Hunger automatically comes with a big base penalty, -10 to your mobility and recovery. Ouch. Aside from that though, you improve the melee energy gained from picking up shards. As far as I could tell from eyeballing it in a private match, the amount of extra energy from Hunger was actually pretty noticeable. Earlier I mentioned that 2 shards refilled about 20-ish% of my melee meter. With Hunger turned on, it went up by about 40-ish%. That's definitely not nothing. While on my Warlock, I put on 2 Outreach armor mods, then picked up 2 shards with Whisper of Hunger, then dropped my Rift. The result of that was me almost getting my melee back immediately. Even though it comes with that brutal stat penalty, I still think Whisper of Hunger has a lot of potential for both Titans and Warlock. The Hunter Shuriken, while really good, isn't as cracked as it used to be, and Hunters don't want their precious mobility getting touched. Warlocks and Titans, though, care much less about their mobility, and while 10 recovery penalty does suck, being able to quickly recharge their wildly strong melee abilities is a great upside. I'm definitely going to be trying out some PvP builds in the future that center around trying to take advantage of Whisper of Hunger, despite the big stat penalty. Next, we have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby shards will automatically track towards your position. You'll have to excuse me for the footage on this one. The animation of the shards tracking towards a Guardian will only show from your POV, and my friend Connie is the one who had the fragment turned on, not me. Still though, you can see Connie lighting up randomly. That is the visual indicator that the shards have tracked to and been picked up by their Guardian. Really all you have to do is just think about Thorn. You know how when you get a Thorn kill and the little green soul gets sucked up if you're nearby? Yeah, it's like that, but with shards. While I don't think you necessarily need to vacuum up nearby shards when you can simply walk over them, Conduction does come with a very attractive stat bump, +10 resil and +10 intellect. Literally 2 of the most important stats, and boom, free bump for both. If nothing else, you can always slap on Conduction for a free stat bump, which automatically makes it high tier. Finally, we have Whisper of Rending. Kinetic weapons do improved damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. Initial thoughts are that I'm just not really wild about Whisper of Rending. Currently in PvP, if you're trying to shoot a frozen target, you want to avoid using a kinetic weapon. For example, if you're using a hand cannon that normally does 50 damage to the body and you're shooting a frozen enemy, you'll be hit with a 50% damage decrease, aka you'll be doing 25 damage per shot. With Whisper of Rending, your damage will only get cut back to 38 damage per shot, aka a 25-ish% decrease. You're cutting your kinetic damage penalty in half, which is kind of disappointing. I was hoping that Whisper of Rending would just negate the damage penalty outright. Oh well. There might be some cool niche use of Rending that maybe I'm not thinking of immediately, but as of right now, I'm ranking Whisper of Rending on the lower end of all the new fragments. If I freeze an enemy in PvP, I'm just gonna finish him off with a special weapon. Overall, for fragment ranking, I'm gonna say that Conduction and Rime are high tier, one for having great free stat buffs and the other for giving you a small yet potentially handy mini shield. Hunger is gonna be mid tier for a lot of people, but valuable to those who really want high melee regeneration, and Rending is meh tier to me. If you found any of the information in today's video helpful to you, do me a favor and hit the like button. I know it's cliche to say out loud, but it really does help my channel out, so thank you to everybody who does. Let me know down in the comments section what content you want to see from me now that Season 14 is here. Weapon content, armor content, exotic reviews, hit me with it and I will oblige. Don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Oh, and check out the video of me eating the wings from Hot Ones. I do other things than Destiny, you know. Really do appreciate those who checked out that video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.